What's Gucci y'all, Big Red, back at it again to give you some helpful tips with close quarter combat. We're going to talk about hip firing, over the shoulder aiming, and aiming down sights, ADSing. Now, we're not going to talk about anything farther than 25 meters because more likely than not, you're just going to be aiming down your sight for those shots. These are going to be shots within 25 meters, working around objects, working with people, pushing you pushing people, to give you a better advantage and an easier way to kill your enemies. So you aren't panicking and just pushing all the buttons like you're playing Street Fighter. So let's get on with the video. We're going to start off with hip firing. Hip firing is you using your general sensitivity to shoot at somebody who's basically all up in your business, up close and personal. You turn the corner and they turn the corner at the same time and they're all up in your face. This is hip fire. So general sensitivity is basically your sensitivity of you looting and looking around the field. That is what this sensitivity is going to be. So if you make it too fast and someone's really close, it's going to be a lot harder for you to control that spray and kill them. If you do it too slow though, it's going to be harder for you to look left and right at your enemies and find where your enemies are. Now, this all depends on what you feel is most comfortable with looting, looking out and scanning the field, but also hip firing in certain situations. I have mine at 12. I feel like it's perfect in the middle for me, quick enough for me to loot, quick enough for me to look all around for my enemies, but also easy enough for me to control when someone's all up in my grill and I'm able to spray while they run back and forth to take them out. Now remember, you only want to hip fire when the person is 0 to 10 meters away from you. 10 is a little too far. I'd even say 0 to 5. But sometimes there are those times when you start off with the hip fire spray and then maybe go into an over the shoulder spray or an ADS spray. Now, hip fire, you always want to remember that it's always when somebody is all up in your grill, in your face. That's when you hip fire. You never want to stand still in ADS when someone is really close to you, because if they hip fire, they are going to be much harder to hit, especially those of you with slower sensitivity settings. But when you hip fire and you move left and right, you move a lot quicker. So I always recommend when someone is up close and personal with you, hip fire. If you're pushing someone and you're on the same cover as them but on the other side, a lot of times if I'm hugging the cover to push them, then I like to run straight into them and hip fire. And if I go a little around the cover, then I will over the shoulder aim. Hip firing, more times than not, will happen when you land in cities, because when you're inside of buildings, you're a lot closer to enemies compared to when you see them out in the open field. More times than not, you're not going to need to hip fire out in the open field unless you damage them and end up pushing them. And that's when I recommend, if you hug the cover and go push them around it, that's when you hip fire. But if you go a little wider, then I'd probably recommend the over the shoulder peek. And if you're not comfortable with over the shoulder, try to get comfortable. Or if you have a fast enough ADS, then just ADS them, and bada bing bada boom, you'll be in business. Now onto over the shoulder aiming. Over the shoulder aiming is when you hold LB or L1 on a PS4 controller when you're in type B. And if you're in type A, you'll either hold LT or L2 on a PS4 controller for over the shoulder aiming. In my experience, I've noticed this is a little bit slower when aiming down your sight, so mine's a little bit higher in the sensitivity settings, but it's not faster than my general sensitivity. I like to have this a little bit quicker because I could see more of the area when I'm aiming over the shoulder, but I also like to keep it so I can lock onto my target if they're moving a little too quick for me. Over the shoulder aiming isn't deadly accurate, but it gives you a very precise spray towards your target. So I like to use these around bigger objects like rocks if somebody's pushing me, or if we're playing Ring Around the Rosie, it's much easier to keep my eye out on them so I can see them, compared to if I ADS, I kind of lose track of where they go. And this is really helpful in TPP. If people are running up or down stairs towards you, you could take them out really quick with over the shoulder aiming and just aim, peek around your corner, take them out, or any tight hallways, similar thing. Over the shoulder aiming is mostly for battles between, I'd say, 5 meters and 20 meters. It's always situational. It's never going to be perfect, but there are times when it's much easier to aim over the shoulder than any other aiming choices, such as hip firing or ADSing. And on that note, it takes us to ADSing, or aiming down sight. This is almost always a must do when an opponent is 15 meters and farther. If somebody is head peeking, just head peeking, ADSing is the way to go. If someone is hard peeking you, ADS them. If someone is standing still and shooting at you at a pretty decent distance, ADS them. If somebody is running in a straight line towards you and you know you could get a quick peek and a quick kill, ADSing is the way to go. For those of you who aren't as confident in ADSing when someone's running in a straight line, use the over-the-shoulder aim feature. Try to get used to all of these and remember when to use them. Now to kind of add a little more info into each of these, 7.62 weapons are probably more on the worst side to hip fire and over-the-shoulder aim because they shoot a little bit slower. The barrel is probably the best one to use, if anything, and that doesn't include crate guns. 9mm weapons, really good for hip fire and over-the-shoulder aiming. Those things could tear people up really quick. The ump is also really good over the shoulder because with SMGs, if you could avoid hitting people's vests, you can knock them really quickly. Now that's not easy to do, obviously, but if you over-the-shoulder aim, you're more than likely to hit them in random spots, which will help you to kill them faster. 5.56 guns are okay to use in all those situations, but they're not the greatest. Much easier to aim down sights with 5.56 weapons and control that recoil. Now nobody's perfect. I'm not saying these tips are going to make you the best overnight. Practice will take time. You will still mess up and aim down your sight when a person is right in front of your face. It's going to happen. It happens to all of us. We're all going to potato. We're all going to aim incorrectly. It's going to happen. But practice makes perfect, and these tips will help over time. But anyways, guys, that's it for the tips and tricks. If you guys have any questions, please hit the comment section below, and I'll answer them as best as I can. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If so, please hit that like button, sub to the channel if you haven't already, make sure you hit the bell for a little ring-a-ding-ding to get notified when the next video of mine goes live. Catch you on the next one. Peace.
What?
Oh, here comes
Oh, good night.
banger.